Welcome back to Under Oath.
Today, Jeff, we're going to talk about the audacity, the kahunas on Mexico.
Did you just say
to sue
hold on.
They're suing us, Jeff.
What the hell is kahunas?
Mexico? Kahunas balls.
That's cojones.
Cojones.
All right.
It's not kahunas?
The kahunas.
The kahunas. The balls on
The kahunas of those guys.
The balls on these guys to sue us. Mexico is suing the United States. Can you believe this? For allowing guns to exist, basically. They didn't say it
the
quite
Mexican
like
government
that.
is suing the U.S. for gun manufacturers?
I'll read you from the piece. First, U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals revived Mexico's $10 billion lawsuit against American gun manufacturers. And they're saying that these guns are being trafficked into Mexico. First of all, Mexico, go F yourself until you get a hold of all the fentanyl coming across our border from your folks. You can go pound sand. Suing our gun manufacturers, U.S. gun manufacturers, because they have crime in Mexico. Like it's the gun's fault that there's crime. You seem like you want to say something.
I'm speechless. And that is...
That's rare. It's hard to see you speechless.
When I see a case like this where somebody goes, hey, listen, a lot of guns are coming across the border here. It's not the gun companies that are shipping them. It's criminals illegally transporting guns across the border, right? It's not that...
Yes, correct.
You know, Smith & Wesson is not sending crates of guns to Mexico.
Correct.
Good luck with that.
Criminals whose intent it is to break U.S. law and Mexican law are buying guns here and smuggling them into Mexico.
How do they think a jury?
Well, that's the other thing. What venue?
It has to be the U.S.
It's a U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. What?
Yes. So it's somewhere. It's either in California. Well, you know where it is.
How do they have standing?
California.
Is that where the First Circuit is?
It's got to be a federal court in California. You got diversity.
Over 500,000 guns are trafficked annually from U.S. to Mexico, with more than 68% made by the defendants in the lawsuit.
500,000?
500,000 guns.
That doesn't seem like a lot.
It really doesn't, yeah.
Not compared to what's still stuck here.
We
wish they all left.
They make that a month.
I'd be happy if they all shipped them out. They just sell them and keep shipping them.
What?
Yeah, I'm not big on it.
You want for there to be no guns in the United States?
Not no guns. I just don't think we need any more. We have enough.
Is there such a thing as enough guns?
Yes.
I don't think
There's
so.
enough. You know why? Because
so.
For every gun that gets bought, probably half of them get into the hands of wrong people.
That is absolutely inaccurate. You are just making that up.
How many guns are produced? How many guns are produced in the U.S.
I don't know,
every year?
and I know that you don't know either.
I know a lot.
I didn't say you don't know a lot. I said you don't know how many guns are manufactured.
How about I'm willing to bet?
And you don't know how many end up in the hands of what you describe as the wrong people.
How about I bet you this? More guns are produced every year than babies are born.
Oh, easily.
Okay. Now, I'm a math guy. If more guns are produced than babies are made, then there are more guns per population.
I'm waiting for the big...
Okay.
I'm waiting for the other shoe.
We have more than one gun per single individual in this whole country.
Oh, easily.
Why?
Because there's different types of
guns.
Everybody needs multiple guns.
How many guns do you need?
I've got several.
Well, 13.8 million guns were made, and how many people died in the U.S.? Probably the death to birth rate.
There's 330 million people, right? Roughly.
Yes.
So if we've been making 13 million roughly a year, it would have only taken, 25 years or so to...
And then people die.
Sure.
Okay. So then those people don't need their guns anymore.
Guns get passed on. Yeah, guns don't die.
Yeah, I know.
They get passed on.
So here's the thing. I got a family of 4. I got one gun. Okay. I can tell you what. My son Jacob, he don't need a gun. He's autistic. He don't need a gun. My wife clearly doesn't need a gun.
She needs one.
No, she doesn't need a gun. Because I had been shot years ago.
She needs one.
No. The whole issue is this. How many guns do we need? And I would like guns to be expensive.
They are expensive.
Not really. A couple $100 you can buy it.
$400 or $500.
PlayStation. PlayStations are more expensive than some guns.
Depending on the gun, yeah. I mean, you get a cheap gun.
You get 22. You get rifles. You get that stuff.
The sky's the limit on how much.
But how many guns are destroyed every year in comparison to how many are made?
A fraction.
I know. So we are.
So each year, yes, I agree with your premise. What point are you trying to make?
The point is this: we got enough guns.
We don't.
We have enough.
We don't.
In fact, I would love that we put more of a value on a gun. Do you know in Colombia, if you want a gun, the permit you have to get a gun in Colombia, it's brutal, and the cost of a gun is expensive.
Yeah, I don't care
because we take it serious.
Does Colombia have a constitution that guarantees that you can have a gun as part of your constitutional rights? No, I don't think so.
There are a lot of things on the Constitution that we don't, rights that we do not. You have the right to free press. That don't cover it all.
What are you talking about? We have
First Amendment
allegedly a free press.
Oh, do you see that figure? 10% of all the guns are stolen. 10% of all guns made are stolen. Yeah, 380,000 guns are stolen every year.
What is 10% of 13 million?
Are we talking about this one? Hold on.
Did you just mess up math?
I messed it up.
You are normally very good at math.
I am.
You are so blinded by this argument that you have lost your ability to
3.5% of all guns are stolen.
That just goes to show you are not thinking clearly when it comes to arguing about guns.
Who do you think are holding these 380,000? Oh, they're all shipped to Mexico. We don't care. Okay, there we go. They're all shipped to Mexico.
I just told you it's 600,000, so there's half of them.
Half of them have gone to Mexico. See? And the other ones are lost, I guess. And how many are not reported? How many people don't report their gun stolen?
Oh, if your gun gets stolen, you report it because you don't want to be responsible. No.
Some people don't.
I watch TV don't want to be responsible
all the time. They go, that gun got stolen a year ago.
No, they just say that when they are asked to hand their
That's what criminals say.
Everyone says all the time, yeah, it was stolen. They don't. It's not ever really stolen.
Now, should there be one federal rule on guns?
Yeah, and that is if you're a U.S. citizen, you have the right to have one. 16.
You are out of your mind. You think a 16-year-old should get a handgun?
No, not a handgun.
Oh, so different guns.
A rifle.
A rifle.
Rifle.
So I got a bunch of 60-year-olds driving around with like rifles that their bullets can do twice as bad.
Average age of the Union soldier in the Civil War is what? 17?
I'm sorry. Are we putting the same responsibilities that we put on kids? Were working at 8 back then too. We can't quite count. People are having babies at 11.
They were not having babies at 11.
They would go, ooh, that 12-year-old looks good. Let's marry her off.
I don't think so.
You know the way that worked back then? See, the problem is this. The idea that Mexico would even have it's
don't
insane.
You think we should say, listen, once you clean up the fentanyl issue and the drugs coming from your country to ours and the human trafficking from your country to ours, once you got that all cleaned up, then let us know?
The thing about Mexico is this. Everything from their president to the senators to the representatives to the police force is bought and sold. It's all corrupt. That's a good thing if you have money to pay off those people. So there are big patriot communities in Mexico where the police force knows to take care of, keep crime curbed because they benefit from it. Now, the idea that they blame their crime on us. Now, how many Russian weapons are in there? How many guns are made from other countries that are in Mexico? Grenades.
So you agree they should go screw themselves?
Yeah, I think the idea that the Mexican government would ever come in and ever suggest that we are hurting their way of life.
It's a preposterous claim.
Knowing that all their citizens want to be here is, when I say all their citizens, I don't mean to say that, but I do know that I have a lot of friends of mine who live in Mexico. The cost of living, the amount that somebody's paid to do a regular job is almost 1/10 of what the U.S. is. Like if you work in a factory there, you're lucky to make $1,300 to $2,000
Well, what's
a year.
The cost of living there also? Is it also that reduced?
Depends where you're living. And also the crime, you're not protected. You don't get the same funds. You don't get the same hospital benefits. You don't get the same protections. So your cost of living, your way of life is also significantly less too. And I mean, imagine being in fear every day of being killed. And that's because you do not have the same protections.
Do you know how to eliminate the fear of being killed every day? Buy a handgun.
You know, you can own a gun and still be afraid. I mean, I was in the Army. You know what you're afraid of? People with other guns too. Well, I got a gun. Well, so does he. We used to go to sleep because you do go to sleep eventually. And your gun does not stay up with you. Your gun doesn't patrol your bed while you're sleeping. You know, the fact is this, a gun doesn't alleviate fear. It sometimes makes you think, well, I might be able to do something.
If I'm being serious, the only thing a gun does is give you a opportunity to defend yourself in a situation that you otherwise might not be able to. Grandma versus some 25-year-old thug. You know who's going to win that fight every single time. Grandma has a gun. Well, now it's a roll of the dice. Grandma has a fighting chance if she's got access to a firearm.
I had a trial, and it was about a contractor who was 60, 70 years old. It was a long time ago. It was in Fort Lauderdale. I think it was a 70-year-old contractor, pulled a gun, homeowner, pulled a gun on his bully of a contractor. The guy was like 6'5", and guy ran out of the house. The police came in, swarmed the house. When I was trying to pick a jury, people heard the word gun and automatically like wigged out. And we had to go through 3 different jury selections. And I finally figured out how to get around it. I said, ma'am, stand up. And she was like in her 80s. I said, dude, stand up, a big dude in his 20s. I said, put your hands up if one of you want to get shot. And both of them put their hands up. I said, put your hands up if you don't want to get shot. They both put their hands up. I said, you know why? Because bullets do not discriminate. We will do a lot of things to avoid getting shot. And I think if you know some crazy kook is living in the house and he's got a gun, I'm not going in the house. Even if I have a gun, I might not go in the house. But at the same time, I was in the Army. I don't think the average person has a respect for a weapon. I think they should be required to go to gun classes. I think they should know how to shoot the weapon they're buying. I think they should be taught how to properly secure it. And just the same way you have a car, I think there should be rules on how we treat a weapon and how we respect it. And I think just being able to walk into a store and go, I'll take this and a box of this and I'm good. And if I'm 25 and I'm something, that's a problem. You definitely should be taught how to use one of these things, and you should have to take a class. And there's nothing wrong with understanding how to handle a deadly
Sure. I
weapon.
mean, there's nothing wrong with that if you're doing it voluntarily. You run into the issue of requiring it. And anytime you require something to be done that the government is in control of, you're automatically giving the government a veto on whether or not you're going to get the firearm. So let's say I got to pass a class, right? All right, well, what if one of the questions on the test is, are you Republican or Democrat? If I put the wrong answer on there, well, maybe I'm not qualified to own a firearm anymore because the government, whoever's in charge, will say, oh, well, that's the dangerous version of our political party.
By having to take the class, by having to put your name down,
have any guns.
Your name and social security number is enough?
Enough for what?
Why would I have to ask my political beliefs?
No, I'm saying when you put the government in charge of deciding whether or not you can have a firearm, you are setting yourself up for that type of discrimination.
I think government already decides if we can have a firearm based on regulation. They've already decided you have to be a certain age.
Yeah, they do.
They're already regulations.
And it's just a matter of time before it becomes more and more problematic.
Like, what if I'm convicted of grand theft?
The way the law is right now, you're a convicted felon. You're not allowed to own a firearm.
It's grand
anymore.
theft. What is me stealing
something worth $500? Just because the government said so. That's why.
So we do regulate it.
Yeah.
We
shouldn't. Yeah. If you're trying to make the point that we shouldn't, and if I've been convicted of stealing a car in the past and I'm a felon, I should still have the ability to own a firearm, then yeah, I probably agree with you.
What about domestic violence? Guys charged with domestic violence, and they always take their guns. Happens in every criminal courtroom in the country. You have to surrender your guns when you have a domestic violence charge.
Yes.
Fair and unfair?
That is true. Unfair. Because anyone can be accused. You have to surrender them as soon as you're accused. You don't have to be convicted. You don't have to have any facts proven in court. You can just have all your guns taken from you immediately because somebody said, hey, he put his hands on me when he wasn't supposed to.
Because it's fear, right?
Because of their fear of you. But justified or unjustified, that's a matter to be proven in court.
And what about they say you can't have a drink either? They say no drinking while you're out right now.
What are you talking about?
One of the conditions of release is you're not allowed to
on like a temporary restraining order, you can't drink?
Yeah.
Well, that seems even worse. Now you're determining what food and beverage I can consume as part of my temporary restraining order. That's going too far.
And this is a person who has gone out of their way to do, has done some bad, had put themselves in a bad position, much less a regular citizen who has done nothing. And the idea would be, before we stick something dangerous in your hands, we want you to be qualified to use it, which means here is a basic class where we want you to take.
Who controls the contents of the class?
It could be a board.
Made up of which group of people?
You want to be federal or state?
Well, you're the one making
Let's
up the
say
rules.
Florida. The state of Florida has a board. They committed the same way they create the DMV creates the driver's test. I don't have a problem with that. Because I know the problem is I've seen people with guns. And nothing is more scary than watching an absolute idiot not know what to do with a weapon.
That's true.
And he's going to get somebody killed someday. The same reason why we don't let people have wild animals, because we don't trust them. You can have as many handguns as you want, but you can't have a tiger. We do agree how crazy that is.
Your analogy is a little off, because a dangerous gun is never going to escape the safe and run rampant in the neighborhood like a tiger or a lion would, or a king cobra.
It can find its way to Mexico, though.
Through a human being.
600,000 of them somehow migrate
every year. Every year. That's amazing that number is almost exactly on par.
Yeah. Half of our lost guns wind up in Mexico. I lost it. It fell off the car and bounced all the way to Mexico. It's amazing how that worked out. See, the funny thing about that is we've gone full circle, and we really, listeners didn't realize we did this, and it was a cute thing we did. We've talked about how our country won't allow us to ban certain things, and how guns have a right to get to people. Okay, well, based on that, there is no possible way that we can keep our guns from getting into Mexico. If they're easy to get, then they're easy to move. And the people who make them have nothing to do with the laws that are passed in our country.
Right.
So you have a manufacturer,
that's really the ultimate point,
who sells to somebody who has the right to buy it, and then that person sells the gun. So we're not going after the person who's transporting the gun. We're going after the manufacturers who have no way to possibly keep a gun.
Yeah, this is a money grab. This is
what is the duty?
Just a money grab.
So what is the duty?
Trying to grab money.
What does the manufacturer
from
duty have to protect Mexico?
No duty.
The gun has a GPS in it,
no
and
duty.
It automatically, if it goes to Mexico, as it's crossing the border,
absolutely
it goes off or
duty
blows up. There is no way a manufacturer in the U.S. could keep a gun from going into Mexico.
I agree.
So where's the duty?
This lawsuit needs to be dismissed.
But what's the duty? What are they suing? What's the duty they're suing for? What duty did the manufacturer make other than making the gun?
Their claim is that their products are being misused.
Are they meant to shoot people?
But that's the defense.
Did the gun not go the way
the defense for any manufacturer is that the product is not being used in the manner it was intended.
Was it meant to kill people?
These things are intended
to kill people.
To defend yourself.
Yes, to kill people.
Yes, to kill people in lawful self-defense.
Now, I could see if the bullet poisoned you, you might have a problem with that. But if the bullet did what the bullet was supposed to do, could you imagine them going,
some chemical on the gun?
You see, what the bullet did was cause me to cheat on my wife. Okay. Those are some weird bullets you're making there. The bullet made me take money from the government in a weird way. It caused me to embezzle from my business.
Yes. Then
that was a weird gun.
Yeah. But
the gun was covered with like LSD or something. Yes. But the gun did what the gun was supposed to do. It fired. Now, if the gun shot the person who was, if the bullet went in the wrong direction and killed the guy shooting
I can't believe this is being entertained by our courts.
How did we not get? You know what happened? I think it got probably kicked for venue or something like that. But in the end, there's no way it could survive.
Well, the lower court, believe it or not, in that very liberal jurisdiction, the first court dismissed it. It was the appeals court that brought it back up.
But what was the dismissal?
And I don't know why they're bringing it back up.
We don't know why it was dismissed.
Maybe the dismissal was not Maybe it
maybe
wasn't
venue.
dismissed for the right grounds, or maybe there was an error there. So I don't know. This lawsuit might not ever go anywhere, which brings me all the way back to the first point I made. Who cares? How dare you? How dare you, Mexico, with all of your problems that you're causing us? Sue us because some of our guns are making it to your criminals.
This is what I would do if I was a lawyer on the other side. I'd say, Your Honor, these people should not be able to sue. Why? Because this country owes our country so much money that when we win and we want our attorney's fees, we're never going to get them. Could you imagine where the cost money going to come from? You know how when they lose?
Yeah.
Who's going to pay the costs?
They
Nobody.
should have to post a bond.
Yes.
Mexico needs to post a $10 billion bond.
Yes. The cost.
Since that's what they're suing for.
Yes.
And
Well,
when
not
they
the amount,
lose,
just the cost of having to fight this case. Because you know what's going to happen if they lose. The other attorney's going to say, well, we spent 500 hours. We want to get paid. They go, well, this is Mexico. We don't pay our debts.
pay pesos.
We're not paying our debts.
Some big truck pulls up.
We'll
the
send you
dump truck of pesos.
The sad thing is they drive guns back over the border to pay for them. Here these guns.
We're paying our debt with all these illegal guns. There's some fentanyl on them, too. Don't touch them.
We got some fentanyl, some guns, and some avocados. See what you can do with them. See, I love Mexico. I love going to Mexico. I have a good time in Mexico. The food is great in Mexico. But you always have to be aware of the crime. And we're not responsible for your crime. If your government doesn't want to prosecute criminals, they don't want to do stuff, that's on you. You know, that's just a bought and sold society. You can't blame us for knives and guns and everything. You don't take responsibility for what you send over here, then how can you force us to take responsibility for what we send over there?
But we don't even, it's not even that bad. We don't send it over there. It gets smuggled over there. We don't manufacture these for them to be taken to you.
Yeah. Unlike fentanyl and the bad stuff that comes over, you know, there are a lot of issues to deal with. And we know we're never going to really, this case is not going to be ever fought for what it's really being fought over. And in the end, you know, maybe some lawyers will make some ducats.